What was the goal of the Gen Z of Kenya? Was it to host the president out? And if so, does that mean then the Gen Zs of Kenya failed compared to other Gen Z of other countries?
So this is not new. Whether you look at the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, you look at the French Revolution, you look at what happened in America with the civil rights movement and so on. You had people in their 20s and early 30s, stepping out to resist, oppression and so on. Even in Cuba, you had very young people that stepped out to be counted. Most of Africa's revolutionaries, by the time they are seeking change, you find most of them are not the older, people like Raila or Amolo Odinga. It would be young people. Even when Raila was agitating, he was in his 30s and 40s. So you find that all over the world, whether you look at the Arab Spring in North Africa that was started by a young musician, I believe he was in his 20s, who just went to one of the streets in Egypt with his guitar.
Yeah.
They sparked the North African Arab Spring. And so I can tell you that Kenya is not unique because the dynamic is really that Kenya has more than 70% of young people. And so you cannot ignore them. You cannot ignore young people at all. But that is pretty much the demographic of the African continent. I think the average African age is between 19 and 20 years. That is pretty young. And so I can almost predict from a historical perspective and from a purely political, analytical angle that you're going to see more revolutions across Africa because most of Africa is young. And the young lose nothing. I mean, they don't have the jobs, they don't have the education that you've denied them. They only have the social media and they have the anger against the system. They want a good government. They want a government that is accountable. That's all. A government of integrity. In fact, if African leaders stepped forward to be counted and gave their countries integrity, leadership by integrity and values, then you would not see these revolutions. I promise.
I agree.